Tonight, residents have their final say in the merger standoff, and they won't go down without a fight. A big crowd farewells the Wagga stalwart and former Mayor of Youngshire. A call for cooperation as Wagga City takes action on the pound scandal.
And I hope you made the most of the warm weather today. A cool change is on the way. I'll have your forecast shortly.
This is PRIME7 News at 6 with Natalie Forrest.
Hello everyone. Dozens of locals packed a hall in Gundagai today to send a clear message to the government. They want their council to stand alone. It was their last chance to stave off a forced amalgamation as the council continues to fume over claims the Shire isn't financially viable.
Before the hearing had even begun, Gundagai's message was clear. Almost 200 locals streamed into the district club, eager to address the state delegates for the final time.
What Harden has done to Gundagai by throwing us in with this three-way merger proposal, I just consider completely un-Australian.
Gundagai was left reeling when Harden officially roped them into a three-way marriage with Cootamundra. Many residents are concerned a merger would destroy their town's proud identity and take away funds set aside for local projects.
Gundagai's case to stand alone is far superior. They are certainly not listening to the wishes of the Gundagai community.
Gundagai Council has repeatedly rejected claims by the state government they're not financially sustainable. They've labelled the Fit for the Future analysis as flawed. They don't believe the proposed merger will deliver any savings for Gundagai.
They've gone to a lot of effort to prove their books, to bring in external auditors to make sure that they are clearly financially stable into the future, and they can prove that. So I'm supportive of their position.
Ms Hodgkinson also attended the final public meeting at Young. She vowed to stand behind her councils, provided they have ratepayers' support.
Young would rather stand alone than just go with one other council, and the same with Burrawa. So it is a difficult situation.
Decisions on each merger could be reached as soon as next month. Priscilla Mocker, PRIME7 News.
2 teenage girls have been arrested following an alleged attack at Glenfield Park. CCTV filmed the girls running from an Narrandera road home on Monday afternoon after appearing to throw something at a man. Police caught up with 2 of the girls last night. They've been questioned and released without charge. The Riverina has said goodbye to a local icon. Favero achieved more than most in his 77 years, including long stints in business and local government. But behind all the accolades, he's been remembered as a great father and mentor.
Through the doors of St Michael's Church, it was standing room only, as hundreds paid tribute to a true community leader. After 2 years battling renal failure, Favero died in hospital last week.
His family came first. He was very proud of his family, as we are of him, and he always made time for everyone else and put himself last.
At just 27, Mr Favero started community life on the Youngshire Council, where he served as mayor from 1972 to 1975. He later became an advocate for diabetes awareness. In between, he was a fruiterer, Justice of the Peace, insurance broker and founding member of the Young Lions Club. He was awarded the club's highest honour in 1991 and 9 years later earned an Order of Australia medal.
Brian had an ability to just make you feel that you were part of the family too. He had a way of mentoring without actually trying to teach you, but you could see that you were learning from him.
In person and online, Mr Favero's family was overwhelmed by tributes.
The flood of tributes on social media are indicative of how the community remembers him. Speak up for others if they didn't have a voice, and was happy to speak out on occasion if there was a social injustice that he believed in.
After touching so many, no doubt his legacy will live on. Mark Santomartino, PRIME7 News.
Father and son duo, 68-year-old Gino and 36-year-old Mark Stocco, were refused bail in court today. They face a string of charges following their arrest in New South Wales Central West after a nationwide manhunt late last year. During the dramatic hunt, the pair allegedly committed serious offences, including firing at police near Wagga and trying to ram a police car in northeast Victoria. They'll face a committal hearing in June. A grieving Narrandera mother says she's waiting for answers after water in her son's grave needed to be pumped out before his burial. She's calling on the council to drain the cemetery and then claims the Shire has known about the problem for years. But the council says it was an isolated incident and it's not expected to happen again.
It's something no mother should have to go through. But for Betty Dolan, the pain of burying son Trevor was made worse by the condition of his grave at Narrandera Cemetery. It filled with water before his funeral last year, and she's demanding to know why.
It really does hurt, especially when you can't get the answers to it.
Family members want drainage works to remove the water, and former Mayor Des Edwards says the problem's known to locals.
From my view, it's probably about 15 plus years since this problem did arise, yeah.
He says the waterlogging started further uphill and it's moved down to the newer section of the cemetery.
Well, I think they're trying to defend the indefensible here. From my memory, what we were to do was, if the problem got worse, then they were to follow it up and see what they could do to rectify it.
But the council says it's reacted appropriately by commissioning a report into the waterlogging claims.
We took action as soon as the letter was received from the family of the person who was buried at the cemetery in November last year, actually.
With families understandably devastated their loved ones could be underwater, the council's announced that a report into the cemetery will be tabled on the 19th of April. Betty Dolan hopes it'll provide the answers she needs. Tom Major, PRIME7 News.
Social media commentators who've attacked Wagga Council over the pound scandal are being told to put their words into action and adopt pets instead. Reporter Mark Santo Martino has more from the Glenfield Park shelter.
The pound is almost full, Nat. There's less than 15% of accommodation available for lost or abandoned animals. The shelter made national headlines this week over allegations that a cat was left to die in a freezer and other animals' records simply vanished. The news sparked mass outrage across social media. Wagga Council has since committed to making major changes. And while Mayor Rod Kendall understands the backlash, he says it's doing little to help the dogs and cats who are desperate for a home.
Don't just react to that Facebook story. Take positive action yourself. The rescue organisations are all under pressure to be able to rescue dogs all around the state and indeed the country, but every individual person can play a role in rescuing those abandoned pets.
As a first step, Council has installed beds up to the pound to make the stay a little more comfortable for animals.
Thanks, Mark. Hopefully some generous people will step forward. It's time now to check today's weather around the Riverina and southwest slopes. Maddie has the details. Maddie.
Thanks, Nat. It was a lovely autumn's day across our region today, although with the temperatures we had, it really didn't feel like April. And the reason why we have been seeing those warmer conditions is all thanks to those warmer northerly winds that have been blowing in ahead of a cool change. It's going to make its way into our region as we head through the next 24 hours. So expect to see a huge drop in temperature tomorrow. I'll get to the forecast right after sport. But first, of course, today's temperatures, 33 degrees in Wagga today. that's a whopping 10 degrees warmer than average for this time of year. 32 in Junee, 34 in Temora and a top of 35 degrees in West Wyalong. Hardin made it to 32 after a low of 14 degrees last night. Wangala Dam today is sitting at 41%. Just how much cooler is it going to be as we head towards the weekend? I'll have your forecast right after sport.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, Maddie. Still to come, a warning that many of us could be seriously ill and not know it. And a chance for Wagga pilot training to take flight.
And at 6:30 tonight, worried backbenchers send a message to the Prime Minister to lift his game. A frightening close call caught on dash cam as a truck swerves around a bend. And Iceland's leader forced to resign. The fallout from the Panama Papers scandal continues. All those stories and today's national news, it's next at 6:30.
Stay in touch 24/7 with PRIME7 News.
Police are still trying to return stolen items to dozens of break-and-enter victims. This lawnmower was one of the bigger and more expensive items found in what was described by police as a treasure trove of stolen property found at an Ashmont home in February. Police seized hundreds of stolen items from the Mumford Street home and believe they were being exchanged for drugs. Wagga police are yet to make any arrests but are confident they'll have enough evidence to catch the thieves. A spike in email and phone scams has now extended to Wagga's mail system. A CBD resident handed in these letters, which ask for personal information to claim tens of thousands of dollars in prize money. Police are advising anyone who receives the letters not to be fooled.
It's obviously concerning that people are receiving these with their name and their private address on it, and where these people that are sending out these letters are receiving their information from. It can be a host of areas, whether they're obviously attacking their post office boxes and finding their information in those boxes, or whether they're getting that from another means.
Last month, the Temora man fell victim to scammers pretending to be from the ATO. A test bore that could solve Lake Albert's water woes will recommence just after Anzac Day. The bore came to a grinding halt in December after hitting rock at 110 metres deep. Wagga Council has committed an extra $14,000 to restart the project. Water diviners say they've pinpointed a clean stream of water another 68 metres below the surface.
We've got to go through past that, through the rock shelf to the bottom of that where our diviner tells us the good water is and plenty of it.
Hopefully we can maintain a constant level of water in the lake for the people of Wagga Wagga to enjoy their sporting activities, fishing activities, whatever it wishes to be.
The lake has dropped 70 centimetres since November. It's still unclear how much it would cost to pump any water into the lake if it's found. Diabetes rates are skyrocketing around the Riverina, with doctors warning the disease is a silent killer in our community. With tomorrow's World Health Day focusing on the condition, experts are urging those at risk to be tested.
Wagga's Michael Calnan has lived with diabetes for just over a year. He's had to reassess his life ever since the diagnosis.
I'm overweight and I need to lose the weight, but I also need to eat right and exercise, and that's what I'm doing.
He's not alone. Diabetes New South Wales says up to 2 million Australians are at risk of developing type 2 diabetes. There's a number of ways that people can avoid contracting the condition.
Lifestyle factors such as having a healthy diet, being physically active and reducing smoking are some of the risk factors that people can try and make a change on.
The increasing rates of type 2 diabetes are closely linked to growing obesity figures. But the good news is that even after diagnosis, exercise can help to manage the condition. More than 14,000 people in the Murrumbidgee Primary Health Network are living with diabetes. That's nearly 6% of the population, much higher than the national average. Those who've been diagnosed have one message for those turning their backs on the symptoms.
Go to your GP and get the blood test, just to find out for sure. And because the sooner you find out, the better it is.
Tom Major, PRIME7 News.
A pair of cadet pilots from Vietnam have touched down in Wagga to begin training at our flight school. It's hoped the program will help the city's reputation take off as an international academy for aspiring pilots.
They might only be in flight simulators now, but in just 2 weeks, Kawa and Wee will get their chance in the cockpit. Just days after catching flights from Vietnam, the cadets are learning the ropes at Rex Pilot Academy.
It's perfect. I love food here, I love people here, accommodation in here, everything is perfect, include instructor, everything, yeah.
They'll be put through their paces over the next 46 weeks on a rigorous flying schedule. If they prove themselves, they'll leave Australia with commercial pilot licenses.
One of the things that we have and that Wagga has to offer, as I said, is the training area, the geography, the free airspace, the fantastic weather conditions.
The budding pilots completed theory training at home, but haven't had any flying hours. Experience outside the classroom is why they've chosen Wagga.
When I finish the training in Wagga Wagga, I will come back to Vietnam, and with the CASA certificates, I easily apply it to Vietnam Airlines. Yeah, it's my dream to become a pilot for Vietnam Airlines.
The Australian Airline Pilots Academy hopes it'll be the start of a long-term training partnership with Viet Flight Training. The Vietnamese pilots who graduate the Wagga Flight School can then be admitted to the Vietnam Airlines cadet program.
Personally, I think there's more opportunity for other countries and other airlines around the world to make use of our facilities.
Priscilla Mocker, PRIME7 News.
Technology is playing a bigger role than ever when it comes to keeping our vision-impaired community connected. The latest technology was on display today, allowing people with poor vision to manage everyday tasks. This state-of-the-art phone app allows people to take a photo of a document and within seconds the words are read out to the user. It's one of many handy aids to make life easier.
GPS handheld tracking devices that can actually help you negotiate the street. So you can have that in your pocket and pop in the route that you or the destination you want to go to, and it'll tell you where you're going as you go. So really nifty, clever technologies.
All of the seeing aids can be found at Wagga's Vision Australia office. Coming up in local sport, a look at how our new Aussie rules point system will work. And history repeats in another blow to draft hopeful. There's more bad luck for a local AFL draft hopeful. Jack Irvine missed out last year as he was recovering from a knee injury. Now he's done it again. The Temora boy spent most of last year out with an ACL injury. He was just on the verge of recovery at last year's November draft but wasn't picked up. The teenager's luck seems to be getting worse. He's just come out of surgery after injuring the ACL again. But he's not giving up on his dream. We'll show you what he's been up to tomorrow night. The Leeton Phantoms had a complete turnaround during last year's Southern Inland rugby season. Now it's up to their new leadership to keep them above water in 2016.
At the start of 2015, Leeton's premiership prospects looked grim. Former coach Liam Ward pulled off the turn of the century, sending the Phantoms from bottom dwellers to finals hopefuls. They pulled up just short in third spot. Now their new leaders are keen to top their result.
He developed some good culture within the club and has really brought things to the fore. I expect we'll build on that now with Seri Rogo being the first grade coach, and I think that he'll continue to build and really do a good job of it.
They've started off strongly. Leeton went through the weekend's pre-season tournament undefeated. But you can't predict anything come round one, and the Phantoms are eyeing off some strong contenders.
I see Wagga Waratahs as being the main threat. They've built very well. They've got a lot of good players and they've captured a lot of good players. I was really surprised with Ag College. They really showed up last weekend and I think they'll be a little bit of a dark horse.
Leeton will find out just what they're capable of on Saturday when they meet Aggies in round one. Lauren Markham, PRIME7 News.
For the first time this weekend, our region's Aussie rules sides will be bound by the new player point system. But just how will it work? Sports reporter Lauren Markham's broken it down for us.
2016 brings a new era of football to the Riverina, one where clubs are rewarded for retaining their juniors and valuable players stay put for longer. Each player across the Farah League and RFL have been given a point value. From a squad of 30, each team's been allocated 46 points worth of players.
The Farah League have been put into the footy web system, so this week when they start, they'll actually get team sheets that will have the points against their players. But looking at the points across the board right now, no club is going to go anywhere near their points.
A player's value drops the longer they stay at a club. There's also an initial reduction if they were a junior there. The AFL says it shouldn't affect clubs gaining players from other leagues, as Canberra and the Hume League have the same system in place. Struggling clubs are reaping the most benefit.
The good point around CSU is that the League Equalisation Panel has said that we're going to give the best players 2 points all, and the others are going to be 1, so they've already made a decision on that one as well. So I just think, yeah, it's going to be a really good season, and the other thing will be the points versus the money moving forward.
There'll be a salary cap type process brought into play at some stage, but only when the point system is well established. We'll see how it fares in round 1 of the Farah League this weekend. Lauren Markham, PRIME7 News.
And that's all in Midweek Sport. Stay with us. We'll have the latest on the weather right after this.
Hello once again, Madeleine Culleryoung with you on what was a rather warm April's day across our region. And the reason why we did see all that warm weather around is thanks to this high that's been dragging those warm northerly winds down into New South Wales. But don't get too comfortable with the heat, because as we head through the next couple of days, we are going to see some much cooler conditions. And it's all thanks to this cold front and trough behind that system. We've got those cooler winds blowing in from the southwest, leaving us with temperatures that are up to 10 degrees cooler than what we had today. Now let's zoom in and take a look at the forecast now for tomorrow. And although these temperatures might seem cooler compared to what we have been seeing, a top of 24 degrees is still warmer than average for Wagga for this time of year. Tonight dipping down to 9, Griffith 23, Narrandera 23, West Wyalong 24 and Young a top temp of 24. Heading into Friday and for the last day of the working week, it is going to cool down a little more. 22 degrees on the way for Wagga, which is cooler than average. 23 in West Wyalong. There's a very slim chance that we could see some scattered showers around, but for the most part it should be fine. On Saturday, much the same story, just a really slim chance of rain. It should be fine. Grenfell 24, Young 24 and Wagga's in for a top of 24. Overnight lows cooling right down. Look at that, Grenfell, Young and Cooter all dropping down to around 5 or 6 degrees. Sunrise tomorrow morning is at 25 minutes past 6, and quickly now to the forecast for the rest of the weekend. And on Sunday in Wagga it should be fine, 23, but cooling down to 21 on Monday.
Thank you, Maddie. And that's all the time we have for tonight. You can discuss tonight's stories on Facebook and see tonight's bulletin online. Just search YouTube for PRIME7 News Wagga. I hope you can join us again tomorrow at 6, but now PRIME7 News at 6:30 with Daniel Gibson.